Welcome back to my channel, Bookish English. Today's video is all about the most powerful English books that every beginner must read before 2026. These are not just books. They are life-changing tools that will help you think, feel, and speak in English naturally. Each one has been chosen because it's easy to read, full of emotion, and teaches real English that you can use in daily life. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which books to start with, how they will transform your confidence, and why reading them can make your English journey faster, deeper, and more enjoyable than ever before. Chapter 1. The book that started my English journey. When I first decided to learn English, I was not confident at all. I felt like a small child holding a big, heavy book that I could not understand. Every page looked difficult. Every word felt like a mountain. I remember sitting with a dictionary beside me, trying to read just one page. It took me almost half an hour. I was tired, and I wanted to give up. But deep inside, a small voice said, "Don't stop now. You can do it." That day, I picked up a small book called The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. I didn't know that this little book would change my English journey forever. The sentences were short. The story was simple, yet every page had a deep meaning. It was like the book was speaking to me, not just in English, but in the language of hope. I didn't understand every word, but I understood every feeling. That was enough to keep me going. At first, I read one paragraph a day, just one. I used to read it aloud slowly, trying to copy the sound of each word. I would pause, repeat, and sometimes laugh at my own mistakes. But those mistakes were my teachers. I realized that reading a simple story can make you feel brave. You start to see progress without even noticing it. You learn grammar without studying it. You learn words without memorizing them. You start to think in English without trying too hard. The Little Prince became more than a book to me. It was a small friend who told me, "You can learn English if you keep reading." I remember one line that touched my heart deeply. "It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye." When I read that line, I stopped. I thought, this is not just English. This is life. That is when I realized that reading English books is not only about language. It's about understanding the world through new eyes. Every day, I read a few pages. Sometimes I didn't understand everything, and that was okay. I didn't stop to translate every word because I wanted to feel the story. And slowly, something magical started happening. I began to understand the meaning without the dictionary. My brain started connecting English words with emotions and pictures, not my native language. That is how real learning begins. You see, when you read a book like The Little Prince, you are not studying English. You are living it. The words become part of your thoughts. The sentences become part of your voice. You don't need to rush. You just need to stay connected with the story, and that connection will build your confidence faster than you can imagine. I remember one evening, after reading for 2 weeks, I could finally tell the story in my own words. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. I said, "The little prince travels from planet to planet, learning about love and life." I spoke it aloud to myself, and I smiled. That small victory gave me a big push. I felt proud. It was the first time I realized that I was really learning English, not from grammar books, not from long vocabulary lists, but from a story that touched my heart. If you are a beginner, this book is a beautiful start. It uses simple words but deep meaning. It teaches you how to feel English, and that feeling is what keeps you learning. When you connect emotion with language, you remember it forever. You can even write a small diary entry about what you read. For example, after one chapter, you can write, "Today I learned about friendship and caring." That is how you make the book a part of your English life. One of the best parts about The Little Prince is that it's short. You can finish it in 1 week if you read a few pages daily. Don't try to be perfect. Try to be consistent. Read slowly, but read with love. Whisper the words. Repeat the sentences that sound beautiful to you. You will start to notice the rhythm of English. You will begin to feel confident speaking it. Sometimes we think learning English must be serious and hard, but reading a story like this shows you another way. It shows that learning can be soft, warm, and full of joy. Every page gives you new energy. You start seeing English as your friend, not your subject. You begin to realize that your progress comes not from speed, but from connection. So if you are looking for the first step, let it be The Little Prince. Keep it near your bed. Read a few pages before sleep. Let its words become your daily habit. The more you read, the more you will grow. One day, you will look back and smile, just like I did, and say, "That small book started my big journey." Reading is not just about learning English words. It's about discovering who you are in another language. And this book will help you take that first beautiful step. Pick it up today. Open the first page and begin your English story with heart. Chapter 2. The book that teaches you life and language together. When I finished my first English book, I felt something new. It was not just about words anymore. It was about feelings, about seeing the world in English. I wanted to read more, but I needed something simple and full of meaning. That's when I found Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. I didn't know it then, but this small book would teach me more about life and language than any grammar class ever could. The first time I opened it, I saw a little girl named Fern saving a small pig named Wilbur. The words were easy to read. The sentences were short, but the emotions were strong. It made me feel like I was part of the story. I could imagine the farm, the animals, the smell of morning air, and the sound of friendship growing between a pig and a spider. And all this was happening in English. I realized that reading in English can feel like living another life. As I kept reading, I noticed that Charlotte's Web was not just a story. It was a lesson about kindness, love, and courage. When Charlotte the spider writes words in her web to save Wilbur, I understood how powerful words can be. Words can change minds. Words can save lives. And that's when I thought, maybe English words can change my life too. Maybe they can give me a new voice, a new way to connect with the world. I used to read 1 or 2 chapters every evening. Sometimes I read aloud. Sometimes I listened to the audiobook while reading along. I didn't worry about unknown words. I focused on the feeling of the story. That's how I started learning naturally. When you feel the meaning, you remember it. That's the magic of reading stories in English. You don't memorize, you experience. One evening, as I read the part where Charlotte carefully spins her web to write "some pig," I stopped for a moment. I smiled. I thought, if a little spider can use words to create hope, maybe I can use English to create my future. That simple thought gave me new motivation. I understood that English is not about being perfect. It's about being brave enough to start. Every character in the book has something to teach. Fern teaches us love. Wilbur teaches us innocence. Charlotte teaches us purpose. And all of them speak in simple English that anyone can understand. When you read their conversations, you begin to feel how real people talk. You learn natural expressions like, "That's wonderful," or "I'm worried." You start picking up rhythm, tone, and feelings. Without even realizing it, your English begins to sound more alive. I also noticed that this book is full of small, everyday words. You can use them in your own life. You can describe your day like a story. You can say, "I woke up early today. The sky was quiet. I felt calm." That's the power of reading books written in simple English. They don't just teach you grammar. They show you how to speak from the heart. Reading. I was tired or busy. But then I remembered Charlotte's effort. She never stopped weaving her web. Slowly, with patience. She made something beautiful. That reminded me to keep reading, even for 5 minutes. And every time I did, I grew a little stronger, in English and in life. There is one more thing about Charlotte's Web that makes it special. It makes you emotional. You laugh, you smile, and sometimes you even cry. But those emotions are what make your English learning real. When your heart connects with what you read, your brain remembers it forever. You don't just learn words, you feel them. If you want to improve your English naturally, read this book slowly. Don't rush. Read 1 chapter at a time. Try to understand what the characters feel. Read aloud when they speak. Imagine their voices. Listen to your own voice as you say the words. That's how your pronunciation and confidence grow together. I remember finishing the last chapter of Charlotte's Web on a quiet night. I closed the book, and I felt peaceful. It was not just a story anymore. It was a lesson about love, time, and the beauty of small things. I realized that English is not just a language to learn. It is a world to live in. A world full of stories that make you a better person. When you read this book, don't just focus on words. Focus on emotions. Let yourself feel. Let yourself dream. Let English become part of your thoughts. Because the more you connect with it, the more fluent you become. You'll start thinking in English, not by force, but by feeling. So, pick up Charlotte's Web. Read it with an open heart. Let its words touch you. Let its story teach you that language and life are connected. Because in the end, English is not just something you study, It's something you live. Chapter 3. The book that makes you feel English. Emotion. There are some books that don't just teach you English. They teach you how to feel. They touch something deep inside you and make the words come alive. For me, that book was The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. I didn't expect it to change me. I only wanted to practice English. But when I started reading, it became something more. It became a journey of heart, language, and discovery. The story begins with a lonely girl named Mary Lennox. She moves to a cold, quiet house in England after losing everything she knew. At first, she is angry, rude, and silent. She doesn't smile. She doesn't talk much. But slowly, she discovers a secret garden that has been locked for years. And when she opens the door to that garden, her life begins to bloom again. I could see myself in Mary. I was also learning to open something locked inside me, my confidence, my courage, my voice in English. The garden was her secret. English became mine. Both needed care, patience, and love to grow. Every time I read a new page, it felt like planting a seed. Every new word was like a small flower beginning to grow in my mind. The sentences in The Secret Garden are gentle and beautiful. They are perfect for beginners. The story uses simple language, but it has deep emotion. When Mary starts to smile again, you feel happy with her. When the garden starts to grow, you feel your English growing too. The connection is real. Reading this book is not only reading a story, it's like living inside it. There was a moment in the story that I'll never forget, when Mary meets Colin, a boy who believes he can never walk. She helps him see that he can. She tells him to believe, to try, to feel strong again. And little by little, he does. When I read that part, I thought, that's how learning English works. You may think you can't do it. You may feel weak at first. But one day, when you believe in yourself, your English begins to stand and walk. Sometimes, when I didn't feel motivated, I remembered the garden. It started dry, broken, and silent. But after some time, with care and effort, it became full of life. That image stayed in my heart. It reminded me that learning a language is not magic. It's growth. You water it every day with reading, speaking, and listening. You give it sunlight with hope, and slowly it becomes beautiful. I also learned many nature words from this book. Words like branches, roses, wind, and bloom. They help me describe things around me in English. But more than words, I learned feelings. How to describe silence, how to express joy, how to see beauty in small things. The Secret Garden teaches you not just to speak English, but to feel it. I often read one chapter. At night, before sleeping, it was peaceful. The slow rhythm of the story made me calm. It felt like the author was whispering to me, telling me that everything would be okay, both in English and in life. Reading became my quiet therapy. It was not pressure anymore. It was comfort. You can do the same. Read this book slowly. Don't rush to finish. Enjoy the story. Feel the change in Mary and Colin. Try to connect it with your own English journey. Every page is like a mirror that shows your progress. Every line helps you understand how strong you can become. If you come across a difficult word, don't stop. Look at the sentence again. Guess the meaning. Feel the emotion. That's how your brain learns naturally. That's how children learn too. They listen, feel, and understand without fear. You can do that as well. After finishing The Secret Garden, I realized something important. English is not about learning perfect grammar. It's about learning to express your heart. This book helped me do that. It taught me that when I speak or write, I am not just saying words, I am sharing something alive, something that can grow inside another person's mind, just like flowers grow in the garden. So, if you ever feel lost, pick this book. Read it like a letter to your heart. Watch how your thoughts in English start to grow naturally. The more you connect with the story, the more confident you'll feel. I still remember the last page. The garden is full of life, and the children are laughing. Everything feels alive again. I closed the book with a smile and thought, my English garden has also started to grow. That is what The Secret Garden will do for you. It will make your English feel alive. It will teach you patience. It will teach you joy. And it will remind you that small, daily efforts can create something beautiful. Every page you read is a flower you plant. Every sentence you repeat is a seed that grows. One day, your garden will be full of words, full of color, and full of confidence. And you will be proud of the language you built with love. Chapter 4. The short book that teaches you to dream. There are books that make you smarter, and there are books that change the way you see your life. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho does both. It is one of the simplest yet most powerful books you can ever read in English. When I first picked it up, I thought it was just a story about a boy and his dream. But as I kept reading, I realized it was also about me, about you, about every learner who is chasing something that feels far away. The main character, Santiago, is a young shepherd who dreams of finding a hidden treasure. He leaves everything behind to follow his dream. Along the way, he faces fear, failure, and confusion, but he never gives up. Every page of this book feels like a whisper that says, "Keep going. Don't stop." When I was struggling with English, I felt exactly like Santiago. Sometimes I doubted myself. Sometimes I thought, maybe I'm not meant to be fluent. But this book reminded me that every dream takes time and every step matters. The language of The Alchemist is beautiful and simple. You don't need to be advanced to understand it. The sentences are short and poetic. You can feel the meaning even if you don't know every word. The author uses simple English to talk about big ideas: hope, courage, and destiny. Reading it feels peaceful, like someone is speaking directly to your heart. When I first read the line, "When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it," I stopped reading. I read that line again and again. It was so powerful that I wrote it down in my notebook. I said it aloud to myself. and I started believing it. That one sentence changed how I saw English. It made me believe that if I truly want to speak fluently, every small effort I make will help me get there. This book teaches you that your dream is not impossible. It's just waiting for you to take small steps toward it. Santiago's journey teaches patience. He doesn't find the treasure in one day. He learns, he grows, and he becomes stronger. That is exactly how English works. You won't master it in a week, but every page you read brings you closer to your goal. While reading The Alchemist, I used to underline sentences that felt meaningful. I didn't worry about grammar. I just tried to feel the emotion behind the words. And slowly, I noticed something special happening. I started thinking in English while reading. The rhythm of the sentences began to stay in my mind. The more I read, the more natural it felt. One of the most wonderful things about this book is that it makes you reflect on your own life. You start asking yourself, what is my treasure? For many learners, it's English fluency. For others, it's confidence. For some, it's freedom. Whatever it is, this book tells you to follow it with courage. It reminds you that fear is normal, but quitting is not. Sometimes, when I was tired or busy, I opened The Alchemist to read just one page. Even one paragraph could fill me with energy again. The story has a calm power. It doesn't shout at you. It gently lifts you up. It tells you that your journey is meaningful, that even the difficult days have value. That is why this book is loved by millions around the world. If you're a beginner, start with this book. It's short, so it won't scare you. The language is easy, so you can understand it without stress. And the lessons are timeless. Read it with a pencil in hand. Mark the words that touch you. Speak them aloud. Write them in your notebook. You will not only learn new vocabulary, but also new thoughts. You'll see how one simple line can stay in your heart for days. You'll find yourself thinking in English, but also dreaming in English. That's when you know your language is growing inside you. When I finished The Alchemist, I felt something change in me. I realized that English was not my problem, my belief was. I just needed to trust my process, like Santiago trusted his journey. I needed to stop worrying about mistakes and start focusing on progress. Every person who reads this book finds a message that fits their life. For me, it was about never giving up on learning. For you, it might be something else. Maybe it will teach you to start. Maybe it will remind you why you started. Either way, it will open your heart. So, read The Alchemist not as a student, but as a dreamer. Let the words guide you. Let them remind you that English, like life, is a journey of discovery. Every sentence is a step. Every chapter is a lesson. And the treasure you're looking for is already within you. The book ends where it began. Santiago discovers that the treasure was near him all along. When I finished that page, I smiled, because I realized that my English dream was not far either. It was right here inside me, waiting for my effort to bring it to life. So take this book in your hands. Read it slowly. Feel it deeply. Let it remind you that you can learn, you can grow, and you can dream in English. because your treasure is waiting and your journey has already begun. About a boy named Greg Heffley and his life at school. He talks about his family, his friends, and all the small problems every teenager faces. When I read it for the first time, I laughed so much. But more than that, I started to notice something powerful. The way Greg writes in his diary feels like someone talking directly to you. The sentences are short and natural. It's not formal English, it's real English, the kind people speak every day. That's when I understood that reading doesn't have to feel heavy or difficult. It can be fun, easy, and full of learning at the same time. This book makes you forget that you are studying. You read one page, then another, and before you know it, you've finished a whole chapter. You don't even realize how much vocabulary you're learning. Words like weird, embarrassing, messy, and cool become part of your own thoughts. One thing I loved about this book is that it made English feel alive. I started to imagine situations from my own life in English. When something funny happened, I thought I could write this in my diary too. That was a big change. I was no longer translating from my language to English. I was thinking directly in English. That's what Diary of a Wimpy Kid does to your mind. It trains it slowly and naturally. Another reason this book is perfect for beginners is that it's full of pictures. The drawings help you understand the meaning of words without using a dictionary. You see Greg's face when he feels confused or scared, and you instantly understand the emotion behind the sentence. This helps your brain connect English words to real situations. That's how native speakers learn from childhood, and that's how you can learn too. At one point in the book, Greg says, "I'll be famous one day, but for now, I'm stuck in middle school." When I read that line, I smiled. It's funny, but it also says something important. Everyone starts somewhere. Maybe right now you feel stuck with your English. Maybe you're afraid to speak. But that's okay. Every great English speaker once felt the same. What matters is that you keep moving forward, just like Greg. Reading Diary of a Wimpy Kid became part of my daily routine. I used to read it before bed, sometimes only for 10 minutes. But those 10 minutes gave me more progress than an hour of grammar exercises, because I was learning English the natural way, through stories, emotions, and laughter. I didn't memorize rules, I just absorbed them. The more I read, the more confident I became. I started writing my own short diary in English. Simple things like, "Today I woke up late," or "I met my friend and we laughed a lot." I didn't care about mistakes. I just wanted to keep the flow. After a few weeks, my writing improved. My sentences became smoother, my thoughts became clearer, and my English started to sound more natural. That's the secret this book teaches you. The more you write and think like Greg, the more fluent you become. You start using expressions like kind of, I guess, or you know what? These are small phrases that make your English sound human, not robotic. You learn how people really speak. You understand tone, rhythm, and humor. Sometimes I would even read a funny part aloud, trying to copy Greg's voice. That practice improved my pronunciation without effort. When you laugh and repeat sentences, you remember them longer. You can feel how real communication works. It's not about sounding perfect. It's about expressing yourself freely and confidently. Diary of a Wimpy Kid also reminds you not to take learning too seriously. English should make you smile, not stress. Every page teaches you something through fun. You learn to describe your day, your feelings, and your friends in simple English. You start building the habit of thinking in full sentences instead of single words. That's how fluency grows. When I reached the end of the book, I felt like I had made a new friend. Greg's funny mistakes and little lessons became a part of my own journey. I realized that English learning doesn't always come from difficult books. Sometimes the easiest books are the ones that change you the most. So, if you ever feel bored with studying, open this book. Read one page, laugh a little. Notice how English starts to feel light and natural. Don't try to study it, just enjoy it. You'll be surprised how much you learn when you stop forcing yourself. Diary of a Wimpy Kid may look simple, but it carries a strong message. You don't need to be perfect to start. You just need to start. Each page you read adds one more drop of confidence inside you. And one day, you'll wake up and realize that English is no longer something you learn. It's something you live. That's what this book did for me. It made English feel real. It made it fun. It helped me think in English without fear. And that is what I wish for every learner. Because once you start thinking in English, speaking becomes easy, reading becomes joy, and your learning becomes a story worth writing. The best thing about this book is its language. It's simple and fun. You can understand almost every line without a dictionary. The story moves fast, and it keeps you smiling. Roald Dahl writes in a way that feels alive. Every page is full of imagination. And while you read, your English grows without you realizing it. You learn how to describe people, emotions, and actions in a natural way. When Matilda picks up her first book and reads it cover to cover, I could feel her excitement. She discovers a whole new world through reading. That's exactly what happens when you read in English. You open a door to new possibilities. You meet new ideas. You start to feel confident. Each new word becomes a small victory. Each finished chapter feels like a step forward. I remember when I first read this book, I didn't understand every word. But I didn't care. I just kept going. The story itself carried me forward. I laughed at the funny parts and felt angry when Matilda's parents treated her badly. That's the secret to learning English through stories. When you feel something, your brain remembers faster. Emotion is the best teacher. One of my favorite moments in Matilda is when she realizes her own strength. She doesn't wait for anyone to save her. She starts believing that she can solve her problems on her own. That lesson stayed with me. I realized I don't have to wait for perfect conditions to learn English. I don't need expensive courses or perfect pronunciation to begin. I just need to start and believe that I can improve a little every day. Roald Dahl's writing is playful. He uses funny words, simple jokes, and strong emotions. This makes reading enjoyable even for beginners. You can easily imagine the scenes. You can picture the characters. That helps your brain connect English words to real images, not translations. This is how you start to think in English. As I continued reading, I noticed that my reading speed improved. My mind started to guess meanings naturally. I could feel my confidence growing, not only in English, but in life. Because Matilda is not just about language. It's about courage. It's about believing in yourself, even when no one else does. She doesn't have much, but she has knowledge, and that makes her strong. I thought, that's what I want too. I wanted English to be my strength. I wanted to create my own world through words. That moment pushed me to keep reading every day, no matter how busy I was. Sometimes, when I read aloud from this book, I felt like Matilda herself. I used her voice, her confidence, her curiosity. It helped me improve my pronunciation and rhythm. Reading aloud became my secret weapon. Slowly, I noticed that English words didn't scare me anymore. They felt friendly. Matilda also teaches a simple but powerful truth. Knowledge is power. The more you read, the stronger you become, not just in English, but in every part of your life. You begin to understand people better. You begin to express yourself better. You start to feel proud of your progress. If you're a beginner, this book is a perfect step. It's full of simple sentences, but every page has something meaningful. You can read a few pages every night. Don't rush. Read with feeling. Try to imagine the story as if it's your own life. Laugh when Matilda does something clever. Feel her pain when she struggles. Let her strength inspire you. When I reached the last chapter, I felt proud, not just because I had finished another English book, but because I had learned something beautiful. Confidence doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from believing that you can learn anything. That's what Matilda teaches you. So pick up this book, read it slowly, smile at every clever sentence. Let Matilda remind you that no dream is too big and no learner is too small. Let her story fill your heart with courage. Because once you start believing in yourself, your English and your life both begin to change. Reading Matilda is like discovering your own hidden power. It tells you that you already have everything you need to grow. All you have to do is start. Keep reading, keep learning, and let your confidence shine, because just like Matilda, you are stronger than you think. Too simple? It's just right. The dialogues sound real, like people speaking in daily life. When Anne describes the world around her, she uses words that paint pictures in your mind. You can see the green fields, smell the fresh air, and feel the emotions behind each sentence. That's how you start to connect English with your senses. At first I thought this book might be too long, but the moment I started, I couldn't stop. The story feels peaceful and full of love. It's like taking a long walk in nature with a close friend. While you read, your English slowly grows without stress. You start to understand the language of feelings. You learn how to express happiness, sadness, and surprise in simple ways. Anne talks about her dreams, her mistakes, her little adventures. And that's exactly what every learner should do. Speak your thoughts in English. Even if your grammar isn't perfect, even if your words are simple, the more you express yourself, the more your English becomes alive. Anne's way of speaking teaches that lesson better than any textbook. I remember reading one line that touched me deeply. It's not what the world holds for you, it's what you bring to it. I read it again and again. It made me realize something powerful. English will not change your life just because you learn it. It will change your life because of what you do with it. When you bring your dreams, your stories, and your heart into your English, it becomes special. It becomes yours. Sometimes, when I felt tired of studying, I opened this book again. Anne's endless energy always gave me strength. She never gave up. Even when things went wrong, when she made mistakes, said funny things, or got into trouble, she never lost hope. That's what learning English is like too. You make mistakes, you get confused, but you keep going. You laugh, you try again, and you grow. The words in this book are also great for practice. You can repeat sentences aloud, write them in your diary, or even act them out. Every line helps you improve your pronunciation and rhythm. You'll notice how native speakers connect emotions with words. That's what makes your English sound natural and full of life. The book also teaches you something beautiful about communication. Anne doesn't speak to impress people. She speaks to connect. She shares her heart honestly, and that's what makes people love her. When you learn English the same way, with honesty and heart, people listen. They feel your message. That is real fluency. While reading, I started to write my own small thoughts in English. I wrote about my day, my dreams, and small moments that made me happy. Just like Anne, I began to see beauty in simple things. I learned how to describe my world with emotion. That's when I realized that English is not only about learning grammar, it's about learning how to feel and express life through another language. There's a moment near the end of the book where Anne finally feels accepted. She realizes that love and effort can create a home anywhere. I felt the same about English. At first it felt strange, foreign, and difficult. But the more time I spent with it, the more it became part of me. It started feeling like home. Anne of Green Gables is not just a story you read. It's a feeling you live. It's a reminder that English can become part of your daily thoughts, your emotions, and your dreams. The more you read it, the more you'll feel confident speaking, writing, and expressing yourself. If you're a beginner, start slowly. Read a few pages each day. Imagine you are walking with Anne through the fields. Listen to her words in your mind. Repeat the sentences that you love. Let her voice become your guide. And soon you'll notice that your English begins to sound softer, warmer, and more natural. When I finished the book, I felt peaceful. I realized that fluency is not about speaking fast. It's about speaking with heart. Anne taught me that. She showed me that imagination and emotion make language beautiful. So, pick up this book. Read it not as a student, but as a dreamer. Feel every sentence. Let it teach you to love the journey, not just the destination. Because when you read with love, English becomes more than a language. It becomes part of your soul. And like Anne, you'll find that even the smallest words can make your world brighter. Audiobook while reading the text at the same time. It helps you hear the correct pronunciation and natural speed of native speakers. Your eyes and ears work together. You'll start to catch the flow of real English. After some days, your pronunciation and listening will improve naturally. You can also make reading part of your daily routine. Set a small goal. Read 1 page in the morning or 1 chapter before sleep. Don't pressure yourself. Just be consistent. The secret of fluency is not perfection. It is repetition. Reading a little every day is better than reading a lot once in a while. Small steps every day create big change. Sometimes, when you feel bored, choose a new way to read. You can write down your favorite lines in a notebook. You can make a small summary after each chapter in your own words. You can even imagine explaining the story to a friend. When you do that, you train your brain to think in English sentences. This practice makes your learning real. Reading slowly is also powerful. Many learners try to read fast because they think speed means fluency. But when you read slowly, you actually understand more. You notice how sentences are built. You feel the meaning behind words. You learn how to express emotions. Slow reading helps you grow deeper, not just faster. I also like to make a reading space. It can be anywhere: a quiet corner, a table near a window, or even your bed. Keep your English book there. When you sit in that space, your brain knows it's time to learn. It becomes your small English world. Reading in that same place every day helps build a strong habit. Remember, reading is not a race. It's a relationship between you and the book. The more love you give, the more you receive. When you enjoy the process, your English grows naturally. You'll start to notice that after a few weeks, you don't need to think in your language anymore. You just understand. That's the moment every learner dreams of. When I changed my reading habits, everything became easier. I stopped worrying about being perfect. I focused on feeling the story, and suddenly, my vocabulary grew faster. My speaking became more natural. My writing became smoother. That's the power of reading the right way. So, if you are holding an English book right now, smile. You are not just reading words. You are building a skill that will change your life. You are training your brain to think in a new language. You are becoming the person you always wanted to be, someone confident, fluent, and free in English. Read with joy. Read with patience. Read like you are talking to a friend. Because every book you finish adds a new piece to your English world. And one day, you will look back and realize that you didn't just read books. You built a bridge to your dreams. That's the right way to read English books. Not with fear, not with pressure, but with heart. When you read this way, English becomes part of you. And every page you turn brings you one step closer to fluency, confidence, and success. Chapter 9. My 3-step reading routine for beginners. When I finally understood how powerful reading was, I wanted to make it a daily habit. But like most learners, I struggled to stay consistent. Some days I felt excited, but other days I felt tired or distracted. I needed a simple system that worked every single day. That's how I built my 3-step reading routine, a small routine that completely changed the way I learned English. It made me faster, more confident, and more focused. And the best part? Anyone can follow it. The first step is read a small part every day. It sounds simple, but it's the most important rule. You don't have to read for hours. Even 10 minutes can make a difference. Choose a time that fits your day, maybe in the morning before work, or at night before sleep. Make that time your English reading time. When you read a few pages every day, your brain gets used to English. The words start to sound familiar. You don't forget what you learned yesterday. It's like watering a plant. One drop every day keeps it alive. At first, I read only 2 pages each morning. I kept the book near my bed. The moment I woke up, I picked it up and read silently. Some mornings I felt lazy, but once I started reading, my energy grew. I noticed that reading English early made me feel proud and positive. It set the tone for the whole day. That small action reminded me that I was moving forward, no matter how slowly. Consistency builds confidence. Every page you read is proof that you are becoming better. The second step is write 2 or 3 sentences from what you read. This is where real progress happens. Reading gives you words, but writing helps you keep them forever. After you finish reading, take a notebook and write a few lines from the story that touched you. It can be a simple sentence like, "He walked through the garden, feeling free." Copy it carefully, then try to write it in your own way. Maybe you write, "I walked in my room, feeling happy." That's how you make the book's language your own. I used to call this part of my routine the reflection step. It helped me understand what I just read. When you write about the story, you think about it again. You remember the emotions. You feel the meaning more deeply. That connection makes learning stronger. You can even write your thoughts in your diary, what you liked, what you learned, or what you felt. Those small reflections make your English learning more personal and powerful. The third step is speak those sentences aloud. This is the part many learners forget, but it's the secret to fluency. When you speak what you read, you train your mouth and your mind together. Reading gives you the words. Writing helps you remember them. And speaking makes them flow naturally. Try standing in front of a mirror and say the sentences from the book. Don't try to sound perfect. Focus on feeling the words, their rhythm, their sound, their emotion. I remember one evening I was reading The Alchemist. I found a line that said, "People learn early in their lives what is their reason for being." I repeated that line aloud 3 times. Each time I said it, I felt something different. It sounded more natural, more confident. That's when I realized that speaking from books is a beautiful way to train fluency. You're not just reading someone else's words, you're making them part of your own English voice. This 3-step routine changed my learning completely. I stopped studying English the old way. I started living it. Every day felt like progress. Some days were slow, but they were never wasted. Even if I read just 1 page, wrote 2 sentences, and spoke for 1 minute, I felt proud because I was showing up. I was training my brain consistently. That's what creates real fluency. There's another hidden benefit of this routine. It builds self-discipline. When you commit to reading daily, you teach yourself patience. You stop expecting results overnight. You begin to enjoy the process, and slowly, you notice changes. You understand new words easily. You remember sentences naturally. You start using them in your conversations without effort. That's when you realize the routine is working. I always tell learners, you don't need a perfect plan, you just need a real one. This routine is real. It fits every level. It doesn't need expensive materials. Just one book, one notebook, and your voice. That's enough to start building your English world. When you follow this for a few weeks, something beautiful happens. English stops being a subject and becomes a part of your day. It becomes as natural as brushing your teeth or drinking water. You start looking forward to your reading time. You feel calm when you hold the book. You smile when you understand something new. Sometimes I still go back to my old notebooks. I see the simple sentences I wrote months ago, and I realize how far I've come. That feeling of progress is priceless. It reminds me that success is not about speed. It's about showing up, even when it's hard. So if you're just beginning, follow these 3 steps. Read a little, write a little, speak a little. Do it every day. Don't skip, don't rush, don't worry about mistakes. Just keep moving, because one day you'll look at your favorite English book and realize that you can read it easily. You'll understand it without a dictionary. You'll speak those words naturally, and you'll feel proud. That's the moment when you'll know you didn't just learn English, you lived it. This 3-step routine is simple, but it can change everything. Start today. Pick a book. Read with your heart. Write what inspires you. Speak what you love. Keep doing it daily, and soon you'll see what I saw. That small daily habits create big miracles in your English journey. Chapter 10. Your reading journey begins now. There comes a moment in every learner's life when you realize that learning English is not just about lessons. It's about building a new way of seeing the world. Reading books is one of the most powerful ways to do that. Every book you finish changes something inside you. It makes you think differently. It makes you feel stronger. It gives you new words, new ideas, and new dreams. And now, it's time for your reading journey to truly begin. If you've watched this far, it means you are serious about improving yourself. You are ready to take that next step. You already know which books to start with. You've learned how to read them the right way. You've built a simple routine. Now, it's your turn to take action, because reading is not something you talk about. It's something you live. When I look back, I remember the day I decided to stop waiting for motivation. I picked up my first English book and told myself, I will read this one till the end. It wasn't easy. Some days I didn't understand everything. Some days I wanted to stop. But I kept going. 1 page, 1 chapter, 1 sentence at a time. That small daily decision became one of the biggest turning points in my life. Because when I finished that book, I didn't just improve my English. I changed how I saw myself. I started believing that I could do anything if I stayed consistent. That's the kind of power reading gives you. It teaches you patience. It teaches you focus. It teaches you how to fall in love with learning again. Every story you read adds something to your heart. You meet new characters. You visit new worlds. You learn new words. But most importantly, you meet a new version of yourself, the version that doesn't give up easily. If you truly want to master English, don't make reading a one-time thing. Make it a part of your life. Treat your book like a friend who helps you grow. Carry it with you. Read it on the bus, before bed, or during lunch. Even if you read just one page a day, that page counts. Each line you read becomes a small step forward. Over time, those steps turn into miles of progress. Many people say, "I don't have time." But the truth is, time is not the problem. Focus is. You can always find 10 minutes in your day for something that matters, and reading matters. It's not just about learning English. It's about training your mind. It's about feeding your soul with beautiful ideas. It's about finding peace and strength in words. There is something special about finishing a book in English for the first time. You feel proud. You feel alive. You realize that all those hours you spent reading were not wasted. They built something inside you. They gave you confidence. They showed you that you can reach any goal if you take small daily actions. That feeling is unforgettable. I want you to imagine this 1 year from now. Your shelf is full of English books. You can open any page and understand it easily. You can speak about the story in your own words. You can write your thoughts in English naturally. That version of you is waiting, and it all begins with one simple decision: to start today. Remember, you don't need to be perfect to begin. You just need to be brave enough to try. Perfection will come later. For now, your job is to start. Pick your first book. Read the first paragraph. Feel the words. Let them guide you. Don't stop when it feels slow. Don't stop when you don't understand. Just keep going, because every page is progress. Even if you don't see it yet, reading English books will teach you something that no grammar rule ever can. It doesn't come from memorizing. It comes from connection. I still remember the books that changed my life. The Little Prince taught me emotion. Charlotte's Web taught me kindness. The Secret Garden taught me patience. The Alchemist taught me courage. Matilda taught me confidence. Anne of Green Gables taught me to dream. And I know the books you choose will teach you something too. Your reading journey will not always be easy. There will be days when your mind feels tired. There will be pages you don't understand. But those moments are the real teachers, because every time you choose to continue, you grow stronger. You're not just improving your English, you're building your character. So make a promise to yourself right now. Promise that you will read. Promise that you will not stop. Promise that you will give English a place in your daily life. It doesn't matter if you are slow. It doesn't matter if you make mistakes. What matters is that you keep going. Imagine your future self looking back and saying, "I did it. I started reading and it changed my life. That day will come." You just have to start today. English is not just a language. It's a key to a bigger world. Books are the doors that open it, and you already have the courage to walk through. So go ahead, pick that first book. Sit down in a quiet corner. Let the story begin. Because today is not just another day. It's the day your English journey truly starts. And who knows, Maybe one day you'll tell your own story in perfect, confident English to inspire someone else to begin theirs. If this video inspired you, take action now. Pick your first English book today. Read one page, feel every word, and start your journey. Like this video, share it with someone who needs motivation, and subscribe to Bookish English for more powerful lessons that will help you grow every single day. Your English story starts now.